All right. Good morning, everybody. Oh, come on now. Hold on. Okay, we got some catching up to do with Rumble Studios here, apparently. All right, I'll try that again. Good morning, everybody. I did see Golf and Guns with First Blood on this side, but I lost the chat when I had to reboot. So now I see Pitt Danny just said good morning, and that is where I can see the chat for now. So, I just had a little hiccup with the internet as I started the show. So, y'all let me know if the audio is coming through. If everything sounds good, if you see everything. Yeah. Anyway, good morning. So, uh, I've got some errands to do today. So we're gonna be trying to cut this one off right at 8 o'clock. But I do have some stuff I want to talk about. Uh, the big story today, at least in my opinion, the most important story today is that the DOGE cuts have been, at least to some extent, codified. Uh, so that's all to the good, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. But first, I want to take just a moment to talk about something related to the Epstein files, and it's this. And I have a tie-in. I have a tie-in to the defunding of PBS, NPR, etc. Republicans block effort to force release of Epstein files in Congress. Y'all are going to hear a lot of talking points on this, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on Epstein stuff today because I think there's going to be a lot more development there that we're going to get into deeper in the not too distant future. The story you're going to be told now is that Ro Khanna introduced legislation to force the release of the Epstein files. And the Republicans, because they obviously have a lot to hide, have blocked that bill. Okay, clear some stuff up real fast. Every Democrat and Democrat voter and shit-lib leftist that is currently crying about Donald Trump not releasing the Epstein files, right? Let's be clear. The Trump administration has completely shit the bed on the Epstein files. They could not have screwed this up worse. In fact, all they had to do was nothing. They could have not released the files and just shut their mouths and let it sit there and fester and not have made as big a mess of this thing as they have. This is a total unforced error, and there are going to be some political consequences, probably some losses in the midterms as a result of this absolute debacle. This is Trump's Afghanistan pullout. This is the equivalent to the Afghanistan pullout. And I hate to say it, but there's a good argument to be made that there are more casualties related to the Epstein files debacle than the Afghanistan pullout, because the number of child victims we're talking about here is huge. That said, every shitlib that's running his mouth about how the Republicans are mishandling the Epstein files needs to sit down and shut up, because quite frankly, they didn't give a shit until there was a clear political profit to be made. Now, in fairness, Ro Khanna, he is a very cordial and polite communist, right? Which is to say, that would make him about the most reasonable thing you can find in a donkey suit. Now, the line here: Republicans block effort to force release of Epstein files in Congress. The language in this document says that the government will publish, and this is important, the government will publish all information and evidence related to the Epstein investigation on a publicly accessible government website. This is the key reason that people are voting it down, that Republicans are voting it down. It says it will publish all information, that they will be required to publish all the information within 30 days. That sounds pretty good on its face, except here's the problem. And I don't even necessarily think that it was Ro Khanna's intention for this to be the case. I think he made a mistake and he needs to go back and fix it. But the problem is, if you publish all of the information related to that, that includes the tens of thousands of hours of video of CP, of child abuse material, right? So he needs to go back and fix the language to make it clear that all the information does not include the CP. And in order to try and stay on all of the various platforms, I'm going to refrain from using the P word in this context. But I hope you understand what I'm talking about. The publish all of it includes the CP. Now, that said, on the heels of all of the Epstein nonsense, Elmo of Sesame Street, which we're going to get to, recently came out real hard. Elmo on Twitter says, release the files at real Donald Trump. And then he says this, which I will not read aloud, on this show that is not behind the paywall. And I mean, Elmo just went full off the cuff there. So let me see. Sergeant Major says, are you saying the Congress should usurp the power of the executive branch? No. In fact, the Congress passing a bill like this is not a great idea. My point is that the narrative that Republicans are blocking the Epstein files is false. In this case, because the narrative that they're attempting to spin is that the GOP is voting just to block the Epstein files because they have something to hide, and the distinction, the nuanced distinction about we don't want to release the CP material on a public government website is a very important key throughput to that. So what just happened is the Senate clears key procedural hurdles in the Trump DOGE cuts as deadline looms. And I took this from CNN so that we can make fun of some of the hackery in their writing while we do this. So the Senate narrowly cleared two procedural hurdles Tuesday to move closer to a final vote on the GOP effort to codify Department of Government efficiency spending cuts as a deadline to act on the White House priority looms. This maneuver is to cut this particular bill will cut $1.1 billion from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is the entirety of their funding for fiscal years 25 and 26. And I'll hit this real quick. Sergeant Major says the Republicans should be asking why the Democrats didn't release the files when they were in power. Yes. Now, that said, we covered that in detail this past Saturday night. The number of people wrapped up in that scandal is just extraordinary. But that's all. That's all I'm going to talk about on the Epstein case for the rest of this show today. So it's being touted. This being touted as a $9 billion DOGE cuts. That's $1.1 billion from from PBS and NPR, which is all their funding, all their government funding, and $8.3 billion in cuts to USAID. That includes what's called PEPFAR, and it's being, which is an AIDS treatment program. Frankly, I don't see any reason that my tax dollars should be going to treat AIDS patients around the world. In fact, I was told that everywhere except the United States has free health care. So go get your free health care. Right? I mean, let's just, we're told over and over again that the United States is the only backward, stupid country that still pays for doctors. And somehow, that's unrelated to the billions of dollars that we spend per annum in foreign aid. And yes, that includes to developed countries in Europe. Right? The billions in USAID money, which is what we're really talking about when people say foreign aid. It's not foreign aid, it's bribe money. It's CIA black budget money. Is going to fund things that are ostensibly healthcare, etc. For the sake of making the budget line item look a little more gray on the black budget. And we're told that we're backwards because our healthcare system is expensive. Let me tell you something. Medicine is like a divorce. It's expensive because it's worth it. Okay? I've always found that joke amusing. And there is no aid in USAID. So, the bill seeks to cut $1.1 billion from NPR and and $8.3 billion from USAID. We've done we have not done one of the Saturday special deep dives on USAID. Maybe that one's coming up sooner or later. But we've dug into it quite a bit on this show and talked about, from the perspective and experience of guys who've worked in the IC, the intelligence community, how USAID was never anything but a money laundering front for essentially CIA black budgets. Basically, USAID allows the government to use NGOs to run cover so that it can do things that it's not allowed to do. Right? It's kind of like the global intelligence deals where, we're not allowed to spy on our own citizens, so we just trade spying on the citizens of foreign nations where they're not allowed to spy on their own citizens, so that they'll spy on our citizens for us and share the information that they glean doing that. So USAID is one of those. It's a money laundering program so that governments can engage in bad behavior. And to be clear, in my opinion, bad behavior includes liberating shithole countries with bad dictators, because quite simply, I'm tired of you. You have a bad government in your shitty little country? Well, that's awful. Except you still have a bad government in your shitty little country, which means that you've done nothing about it. You've done nothing to fix it. Right? Over here, we've got problems. We've got some bad government problems. And we are trying like the devil to handle that at the soapbox and at the ballot box before going to the cartridge box. Right? There's a big part of my heart that wants to go to the cartridge box first and foremost because it is effective. But we're trying to do it on the soapbox and to do it at the ballot box. But there's a lot of countries out there where there is no ballot box. And the people of those countries are not going to the cartridge. They're not going to the machete. They're not rising up and doing what needs to be done. Why should that be my problem? Think about it like this. You're walking through downtown Atlanta, and at least every block, some bum comes up and asks you for $1. Now, let's say you are the most polite, charitable person, and you just cannot help yourself. You have to give that bum $1. even if you are just the most altruistic, humble, polite, generous, charitable person in the world, there are more homeless bums asking for $1 than you have in your pocket. Do what you like. Eventually, you run out of money. The problem for most of the world outside of the United States is they're running out of our money. And it's not hard to run out of US dollars right now because the United States is broke. We are out of money. We're about to cross 40 trillion in debt. 40 trillion in debt. That is the fuck out of money. Now, as far as cutting funding, so that's USAID. Let's talk about cutting funding to PBS. Okay? Because in case you missed it, this is PBS.
This month and every month, we want to uplift and celebrate our LGBTQIA plus family, friends, and communities.
Yeah, that's right, Miss Ariana. From our Sesame Street family to yours, happy Pride!
Okay, everybody, I want you to meet my brother Dave.
Hi.
His husband Frank.
Hi.
And my sobrina Mia.
Hi.
My niece.
Hi, Mia.
Elmo, Cookie.
I mean, you paid for that. You paid for that involuntarily. You paid for that under threat of death. Your government pointed a gun at your face and said, pay for this.
Are you ready to see my monster piece?
Ready, Jonathan!
Alan Monster is wearing the...
Your government pointed a gun at your face and said, you will pay for this to happen or you will go to jail. And if you refuse to go to jail, we will kill you. Your government. And when it gets worse. Remember, I used the CNN article earlier to make the point.
Daddy, Irma doesn't understand. What's happening? Why are all these people together?
Oh, well, they're gathering together to...
I want you to pay attention real quick. That was CNN. That was CNN news coverage of the BLM protests that you just saw, and this that you're seeing right here. This cut. This is not a joke. This is being run live on CNN. This was being run live on CNN and billed as a CNN/Sesame Street town hall for kids and families.
Protest. A protest is when people come together to show they are upset and disagree about something. They want to make others aware of the problem. Through protesting, people are able to share their feelings and work together to make things better. I'm bringing this sign to the protest at the community center later. They are sad and upset, and they have every right to be, Elmo. People...
Now, I'm going to drop my camera for a second so you guys can see this. Over here it says, coming together, standing up to racism. Okay. BLM, make no mistake, BLM is not an anti-racism group. They never were. Right? If we're being honest, and clear about what we've learned from the analytics on the activities of BLM, where the billions of dollars that went into the BLM movement, never went to helping Black lives with anything, except for those Black lives like the Colores chick, who bought several multi-million-dollar mansions with her BLM proceeds. That money was essentially laundered into the pockets of the activists who ran the organization. But step back from that and just look at the messaging from BLM. Right? We've brought up the website and we've looked at it several times and pointed out things like the BLM funded maneuver by I want to say it was the Natural History Museum, but don't hold me to that. I think it was through the Smithsonian, but they ran that placard explaining what white supremacy is, and it said, being a white supremacist includes things like being on time, punctuality, having a code of ethics, having morality, having a positive moral opinion of a work ethic, a nuclear family. Like they very explicitly said that part of the objective of BLM is to abolish the nuclear family. So make no mistake, BLM was always a black supremacist and communist organization. They are an ethno-supremacist communist organization, essentially chocolate Nazis. That's who they are. And the argument that let me see if I kept this. I hope I kept this tweet up. Did I? I had Bernie Sanders tweeting. There's a lot of tweeting on. Okay, anyway, Bernie Sanders is one of the ones, of course, that is tweeting about how important it is that NPR, PBS, Sesame Street. Here we go. There it is. Okay, Bernie says Trump, like all authoritarians, doesn't like criticism or objective reporting. He just wants to be flattered. That's why he wants to defund NPR and PBS. And here's the line. If democracy is to survive, we need a strong, independent media. I will vote to support public broadcasting. Bernie, here it is right at the top. Here's my comment. I replied, government funded is the opposite of independent media, you fucking muppet. It really is that simple. These sociopaths are arguing that we need government funding for PBS and NPR because it's so important that there be independent media to hold the government accountable. That's exactly the problem. The government-funded media tells exactly one narrative, the message. I need to clip the critical drinker doing that and do like a little splash screen with his cartoon face to make sure that I'm giving him credit. But yeah, he's right on it with the message commentary. NPR and PBS exist exclusively for the Democrat Party to money launder your tax dollars into their own propaganda machine. And that is a state of affairs that has persisted for far too long and can no longer be tolerated. This is actually the one thing that Romney got right when he was running against Obama. And he was excoriated for it because he came out on the stage and he said he wanted to defund Big Bird, wanted to defund PBS and NPR. And he was excoriated for it. And even Republicans said, now, hold on a minute. Sesame Street's important. That's how kids learn to read. No, not in my fucking house, it's not. Hell no. Hell no. Because you know what I don't need? I don't need my children to be intentionally infected with the PSYOP bioweapon that is the LGBT propaganda machine. I don't need them to be intentionally exposed to a social contagion. I want grandchildren. And I want my kids to grow up and be happy. And more importantly, and this is the best reason to now, Sergeant Major, I know I know you're cracking a joke. I know you're being funny here. Yo, this is funny because he knows he's one of the few people on this planet that I will trust to spend time unsupervised with my children. And I trust him to spend time unsupervised with my children precisely because I know that he will let my boy watch a big bird through a scope. Because I know that he will. I dropped my kids off with my folks over the weekend because the wife and I were busy, had stuff going on, and honestly, more importantly, because I'm blessed to have parents who love their grandkids and want to spend time with them and are conveniently located enough that it's possible for us to see them with some frequency, and so all four of my kids went and spent the weekend with Ma and Granddad. And you know what they did all weekend? They played in the pool. They ate food that was cooked on a grill. And, they got on tractors and mowed Granddad's yard. For money. Because that's just how we roll. God. Hot damn, I love this family. Okay. Yeah, guys. If you're not dropping your kids off to mow the grass at Mom and Dad's house, you missed a trick somewhere. Just saying. And I mean, there's a lot of tricks that you missed in there, and hell, maybe that's worth a show sometime. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Closing thoughts, basically, DOGE cuts are good, and on a purely political note, as we get closer and closer to the beginning of the midterm season, right? Because look, I mean, let's be real. The midterms, the actual midterm elections, are almost a year and a half away. And that means that right now, our politicians are laying groundwork and building the campaign platforms on which they will run for that midterm. The Epstein debacle, the best thing we can say about it right now, if they manage to put it to bed somehow, is that at least we got it out of the way early in the midterm season so that we have that whole, 16 more months to do something good, to do something worthwhile. Because going into the season next year, you've got this one great big turd in the middle of a plate of beautiful, beautiful spread that includes ICE detentions, ICE raids, secure border, lower prices going down. Yeah, I filled up my truck the other day for $245. That's not first term Trump yet, but that's a hell of a lot better than what we had the whole time Biden was around. Egg prices are down, right? A lot is going well. But the Epstein files, Sergeant Major says ceasefire in Ukraine will overshadow Epstein. It'll knock it out of the headlines for a minute, Dad, but unless there's an actual deal and we see some kind of a treaty and a very concrete, this thing is over. A ceasefire feels very temporary. Unless we see something much more permanent locked in for Ukraine and Russia, it won't knock Epstein out forever. Danny mentions the tax cuts. Those are great. We do have a lot of great stuff that the Trump administration has achieved that will be wonderful going into the midterms. But unless there's a major resolution to it, the whole Epstein debacle is going to feel like a grain of sand in a mouthful of warm, fresh bread. It ruins the whole experience. So, but shutting down USAID and defunding the Democrat propaganda machines that are NPR and PBS. That's a big, good move in the right direction, and I'm here for it. So, speaking of here for it, I am not here much longer. Sergeant Major, we'll see you in about an hour, plus or minus. And for the rest of you guys, thanks for watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow. I guess what I should do is get in the habit of just letting this splash screen run at the end of the thing, hot mic a little bit, and that just little piece of additional branding on the tail end. What do you guys think? Okay. All right, we love you.